Hey YouTube, Dread Joker here, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of my newer master grades, and probably like the best of both worlds if you're looking for a 00. Specifically, this is the 00 Quanta. It has the 00's stability with the Exia's level of overkill when it comes to the weaponry. Oh my lord, the overkill. So starting off, this is the Quanta full Saber, which surprisingly was a full release. While there was a rumor circulating around that the full Saber was going to be a P Bandai kit for the longest time. Given current standards, we all believed that it was going to be a P Bandai. They surprised us with this one. The full Saber is a general improvement to the regular Quanta, at least the master grade. In terms of all the different parts, the difference in cost is, I want to say, pretty close to like $20, but you're getting a lot for the extra 20 bucks. Starting off with, just for stickers, not a lot. Like, aside from the ones that go on the condensers, just the one behind the head sculpt, and I screwed up the original eye sticker, so I had to actually resort to using the two individual eyes. That was fun. And you may be seeing it wobble. That's because the air conditioner's on, and I have to have this thing on an action base because it has all of this going on. It has a little too much accessories. And to give you a general idea as to how big that side part is, it's a full sword. It's a gigantic buster sword. If you think Cloud Strife is the only one allowed to have like 7 swords equipped on one blade, you're wrong. You are very wrong. This one very much can do it too. There is one gimmick that I will not be showing off, and that is because this gimmick is so overly complicated, I literally cannot remember how to do it without the manual, which I have misplaced. This gimmick entails taking all of these GN sword bits off of this shield over here and attaching all of them in a certain order to the GN Sword 5. I don't know how this is called the GN Sword 5. We skipped the GN Sword 4. Seriously, where did it go? I haven't seen it in any MSV catalog. All I have to assume is that it was essentially the same thing. Now, getting this to hold in the arms is somewhat easy. This hand, for whatever reason, does not want to hold it, and it doesn't want to really hold anything, aside from maybe this big mamma jamma up here. The articulation on this is really good, and it can stand. I just have it airborne because I don't want it falling. It can support 2 LED units, not included on either of them, which is very disappointing because with the full Saber equipment, I feel that you either need to glue the GN drive shut or leave an LED unit in there permanently. This is because the new backpack is mounted directly on top of the GN drive cap, and it's not held on by much. That cap has ridiculously small pegs. If you remember what I showed you for the Exia, or if I don't even remember if I showed it in that one. The GN drive is a cap that you just plug together, and the problem is these pegs are tiny. Like, tiny, tiny. We're talking like half the size of this spring tiny. It's really small. And what's weird is it's only the new backpack equipment that this is affected for. Because, as I said, with this being based on an already released kit, you do actually get, and they don't tell you how to assemble this, but luckily it's only like 5 parts, you can make the Quanta's original backpack. This works well, and if you're wondering why there's this weird gash here, when I got this out of the box, I accidentally clipped here when I was picking it up, and it had opened up a massive fracture. This is because my kit is old. I've had this thing since Christmas last year, I believe. Yeah, I got it about the same time the Jeggin came out, which I do have the Jeggin, and that one's coming. I just wanted to get all my 00 stuff out of the way for now so I can focus on at least one timeline at a time. The full Saber also includes a full action base. Not this specific one. This color is not the one it comes with. It's this type, though. It just comes in a straight-up clear. I do have the action base with me, so this is the base for it. It's just straight-up clear. I just don't remember what I did with the other parts for the arm. But they're the exact same type. You can lock them together, you can build them, and yeah, this is a great action base. These things can handle a lot of weight. As you can see, this one's weaving a little bit, but it's not falling. Additional accessories include this handle for the GN Qatar, which is way too big to be called a Qatar at this point. It's basically a GN Saber. Otherwise, you get 3 of the GN dagger things, which can convert into either a pistol or what I'm referring to as a submachine gun, because, yeah, it's got a bit of an Uzi vibe going on to it. So, a bladed Uzi. That's cool. For basic articulation with the weaponry in its hands, you're not going to get a lot, especially out of this, because this sword is really heavy. It has to tab in up here, but it doesn't lock in, stupidly. It's all down here at the wrist. This one can accommodate it. For whatever reason, this one cannot. For those of you who are noticing that this is a little lopsided, it is designed this way. The Quanta had one oversized, or should I say over-armored arm. That was where the GN Sword 5 goes. And the other arm, well, it was shorter and less armored because of the lack of a shield, which this part of the backpack actually became. So, there's a little brief history lesson. It does have an opening cockpit. You have to move this panel down, this panel up, and then jimmy this another panel in there down. Oh my lord, it is way harder than it sounds. When I say this is like having the best of both worlds, it's basically they took the Exia's GN drive parts and they made them work. So the GN drive is removable. It does work very well. This one, and I'm just going to start popping the full Saber off here because it's a little on, and as you can see, without the full Saber, the ball joint in the hips is, specifically connecting for the hips, is a little too weak to actually support the traditional GN shield, so I'm going to pop this off too. This will let me work with it better. So setting that off to the side, we'll do some of the articulation now. Bringing the old part back, you can bring the shoulders back, which splays the chest a little bit, then slide the whole thing forward for a ridiculous bend. Kind of buffs out the whole chest a little bit, but that's the whole point. Arm can do a full 360. Just remember which arm you put the weapon in, and be careful moving it because, yeah, there's a few loose parts on this. And by loose parts, I mean if you're not paying attention, you're going to have a bad day. Now to reassemble it. So this actually gives you a good chance to see the shoulder assembly. It's different to say the least. And there goes the backpack for the GN drive. So the GN drive just flopped out. So there you can see it. You twist it to turn it on. This works with every one of the LEDs I've tested so far, and that's the green and the yellow LED. It works just fine. This is one of the only kits it works with like this. And now that you can see the light going through it, we can actually get some extra detail going here. Because on its chest, let's get it back into a focused area, you can actually see its model number there, 00Q. That's the short version of it. It's a long model number. And just get all this reconnected. So yeah, as you saw, it can do it, and this just happened on my copy because I didn't glue anything down, which is a good reason why you should glue stuff down. Now, this does have a slightly different V-fin than the original. I really can't tell the difference between the two. I just used the one it told me to, and I have the other flopping around in a box. I am actually considering swapping this over to, seeing if I can swap it to an Exia, at least give it a V-fin that I can modify or something, because it does look really good. Okay, there we have the chest reassembled. You can see nice detail in there. And it does have nice rocking up and down here. You've also got a side to side ab crunch, which works pretty well. Unlike on the Exia, like Exia and 00 both have it. But Quanta is the one that takes full advantage of it, while 00 had more of the, well, let's just say it was all flash. Now, for the full Saber backpack, getting this part off is a nightmare, to put it gently. Because when I pull this, you can see those tabs I was talking about. And there actually is an LED in here. And, hey, I do have 3 LEDs. Okay. Getting it to turn on stably, this is a Bandai LED, and getting it to turn on is not always the easiest thing in the world. Come on. It's possible the lights in this are dying. I actually have not changed the batteries in this for quite a while. Come on, go back in the holder. I like these Bandai LED units, I sincerely do, but they are a little crap in some areas. They work, like they are ridiculously bright when they work, especially the green one. But over time, they start failing, and when they do, they fail spectacularly. So getting it on now, this is essentially what it does to the back. It lights up the whole cone and everything. It looks alright. I like it, but I rarely ever have this part displayed. So putting the light back in the drive, I have to show you how hard it is. And I actually have to get my nippers to show you what you have to do. So this part is very much locked in there now. Getting this out is no easy task. What I actually have to do is I have to take my nippers or other tool and alternate between the sides I'm pulling on. It does not want to come out. But when it does, you're fine. Now, strangely, it's just these parts that cause the problem. And as you can see, the locking mechanism, it's fairly simple. It just goes into these 2 tabs, has a resting point down here, and then just everything here grips. A little too tightly. So let's get this reconnected so I can show you the other backpack it has. So to connect the other backpack, it's real simple. Number one, we turn the entire unit around so you can see how the GN drive goes in. You pull this tab down and slot the GN drive this particle forward. Slot it in till it goes and attempts to turn on again. Then you lock it in place using the tab. And this is why I say the backpacks are just hanging on by a thread. This is the back of the cap, and it does come off without much effort if there's no LED in there, unless you glue it. Then you can take the original backpack and put that on there, and it hangs on just fine, and you have access to the clear part behind there still, so it works. Continuing with articulation, as you saw, the arms can do a full 360, moving to this arm, because I feel more comfortable with this arm versus the other one, and this part comes off. This is just a replacement because they only give you one of these elbow covers. So if you have spare parts for 00, you can put them here, because these are basically 00's arms. This whole kit was basically based off the 00. Really good elbows. You also have a bend up here at the wrist and another bend here at the wrist. Bend at the hand outward, inward. Standard hands that the Exia and 00 had, so I just call these the 00 hands. Get this reconnected. Shoulder pad here goes up and out. This one's a little more blocked than this one because, you know, shoulder pad here. Arm goes out, but the rotation joint here is nowhere near strong enough to support the actual heavy weapons it has. Go figure. Legs are virtually identical to the 00 risers in that you have the same horrible hip skirts, variable position hips, which are very much appreciated, same ankle, more or less same knee. So you've got the first bend, and I was wondering why they needed to have the extra armor there on the leg, because I used to think it hampered articulation. It somewhat does, somewhat doesn't. If it gets in the way and it jams, yes, it's going to hamper it, but it shouldn't jam. It rarely ever does. And unlike the 00, there's a condenser here, two in the arms, two in the head, the one in the chest, the reactor itself. This thing has way too many generators. The butt flap is movable a little bit. This is the same mounting mechanism as the 00 risers, so it's the same there. Same goes for the front skirting, although this one is to a lesser degree. Backing out for the full Saber itself, this has a lot going on because this is a multi-part weapon. So starting off, here are two more of the, what I call the submachine guns. These are the exact same. They have a bunch of different forms. With two of them, you can slot them together like so, making a giant boomerang thing. It's pretty big. It's actually about the same length as the GN Sword 5. And it does still have some minor bend here, so you can kind of line everything up, make it look like it's an actual boomerang type weapon, or you can keep them split. It can be held in the hand as either a GN dagger or the little pistol smig that it is. I love these things. The blade itself, you can take this section off and just set it to the side, because outside of like 2 modes, it's not used. Take the handle, stick it in there, and here's the GN Qatar. This is also the size of the GN Sword 5. This is way too big and way too heavy. If the GN Sword 3 couldn't be held because of the mass it had on the front, there is no chance that this is going to be able to be held, just because there's nothing keeping this in the hand. It's just this peg, that's it. Setting that off to the side, we can take the entire thing. It makes a giant bow and arrow. Let's pull out the handle here, and oh yeah, that's a handle. This is what I like doing. I basically restore it to its whole form. I take one blade and mount it each on both sides, making a sort of giant trident. Then what I do is I take the other blade and I mount it like it's going into the twin blade configuration. So now we have a sword with multiple blades that would make Cloud Strife happy. Then I get to negotiate. With getting it in the hand, and in case you're wondering, no, there's no way that this is going to straight up just hold this weapon by itself. So what I do is I wrap it like this. And in case you're wondering how strong the joints on this thing can be, I put the unit up over its shoulder. It's perfectly fine. It is perfectly balanced like this, even more so when I attach the the equipment to the old backpack. This helps balance it somewhat. And by somewhat, I of course mean none whatso-freaking-ever. So rotate it up there, bring it up over the shoulder. This helps balance it a smidge better, because now it's less side heavy, and you can... I leave this part equipped all the time because I almost lost it tonight. You can fold this all up, and this does convert into the rifle mode too. You just fold the handle down and turn the blade. This one actually has the turning gimmick. I don't know why they couldn't figure this out, but okay, I like this. Only the connections were better. Only complaint. Take the whole thing, fold it up, make sure the peg's going the right way. And yeah, there is white panels here. These fall off so much, I leave them off. You can take the whole assembly and sheath it right there on the hip. Honestly, I love this kit. For something that we picked up for about $60, I absolutely love this. If you're paying more than $60, I'd say that's a stretch, but you know what? I'd also argue that this is somewhat worth it. I mean, that sword is huge. The Quanta itself is pretty good, considering you get 100% of the base kit, plus a custom stand, plus all the extra equipment, and some new modified parts, and then extras that are always left from the base kit. I give this a massive, massive yes to anybody looking for a good master grade. It's complicated, it will challenge you in a lot of ways you weren't expecting. But this is one of the best master grades I've ever built. This is absolutely, without a doubt, a definite kit of the year. At least it would have been last year. For right now, I am going to rank this pretty high up. Just when you're assembling the head, I do recommend using the individual eyes despite them being a pain. Because when I was doing this and I put the actual eyes on there, the eye sticker got smudged over so badly and torn up that he became a pirate. And this is the 00 Quanta, not the crossbow. So, it's not exactly a pirate. But I love this thing. It's so epic, even if you don't have lights in it, it just looks good. So that's been the review of the Master Grade 00 Quanta Full Saber. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down there in the comments section below. I'll be more than happy to review them, read them, respond to them, do whatever I feel I need to. And if you have any interesting stories or modifications or, should I say, horror stories you've had with this or anything interesting you want to share just in general, please feel free to tell me about it. I love reading your comments. Thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic day.